Show.
It's uncut, it's unfiltered. This is the show of shows. This is the biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred.
Speaking his mind.
I've never had a problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way.
Exploring hot topics.
Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do.
And spreading the gospel of drag racing.
I respect the history. I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. This is the great American motorsport, drag racing.
The West Buck Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine checking in. It is Wednesday, July 6th, 2022. Hope you had a wonderful 4th of July holiday. I know I did. And we've got a lot of ground to cover today on the Wes Buck Show. First and foremost, as always, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation each and every week. And I want to let everybody know kind of what we have planned for the foreseeable future here. A little bit of a news update that I think is worth sharing. We'd like for your help to capture the attention of the folks in ESPN out there in Bristol, Connecticut, because if Steve Torrence doesn't win the ESPY for Best Driver, ESPN, Bristol, Connecticut, we're coming, and we're coming with pitchforks. We're coming with torches, and we're going to burn that place to the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm joined today, as always, by my partners in crime, the ones, the onlys, the Mike Carpenter, JT Hudson. What's going on, fellas?
What's up?
What's going on, man?
Do you
back
notice
in the old
backdrop?
stomping ground. Yeah.
Here, let me go back to solo.
I haven't seen that portraiture.
You see
I haven't seen that portraiture in a few years, man. So it's good.
I know, man. It's been a hot
minute.
It's been a hot minute, man. It's actually pretty cool. We've been up in Missouri, back in our hometown for the last week or so. It's been great. Spent the holiday with a bunch of friends and family. And I was telling T earlier today, I think I've seen every single one of them. You know, I was telling my wife last night, we blacked out the bingo card. I've seen pretty much all my family.
So now you're good for like another 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, 3 to 5 years. No, I'm sure I'll be back come the holiday season, man. But it's been fun. We head back to Texas tomorrow. I got to tell you guys, I'm genuinely looking forward to getting back down there. It's crazy how quickly you become accustomed to, 105-degree days and scorching sun all day, every day. As you can tell, I like the sun. You know what I mean? So that's a really important thing for me. And it's a little doom and gloom here today, man. Right?
Yeah, it's rained a little bit today, but it's been hot here too.
It has been hot.
It's hot everywhere. It's 95 here in Charlotte, 100% humidity.
Isn't it crazy, man? It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're already in the sultry summer months. You know what I mean?
I'm ready for fall.
Yeah,
Ready for fall.
ready for fall.
Jesus. Summer just started here.
No, dude, I'm fast forward past this bitch.
Yeah.
I'm ready for fall.
Oh, I will murder you.
I don't blame you guys.
hate winter.
You know what? I don't like winter, but you give me some like long sleeve shirt weather, I'm here for it, man. I'm here for a hoodie or a light jacket.
I love hoodies. I love hoodies when I gained weight.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to hide behind them.
You know what I mean? Yes, I can put a hoodie back on and eat more McDonald's.
I got to be honest, man, JT, it doesn't look like anybody's been in this office since I was here last.
In your back office? Your brother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my brother was in here. It looks like I can kind of tell that he's been in here.
Yeah, I don't go back.
Somebody's White Claw. This is just a random White Claw that's sitting in here.
I'm assuming you left that last time you were there. You know, there's no way I'd be caught dead with that in my hand.
I would not be drinking a mango White Claw, but somebody was in my office.
Yeah, part of your brother too, I'd say.
It may have been my brother, man. But it's weird for the NHRA taking a break. It still seems, a couple weeks off. It still seems like there's been a ton of drag racing news. To be honest, I think we may as well get this kind of dive into some of these tough things. We are going to be joined, ladies and gentlemen, a little earlier than normal by Steve Torrence, or as I lovingly refer to him, Champ. JT, did I not answer the phone that way earlier?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Actually, change of plans. He's in the house right now. So we'll dive right into our conversation around Steve Torrence. We've got a lot to cover with Steve. We've got a short amount of time with the quad champ. But I think it's worth just touching on this ESPN, this ESPY situation. We got some stats earlier. Erica Enders has been nominated for this award 2 times. John Force on 5 occasions. Greg Anderson 2 times. Tony Schumacher on 4 occasions here in 2022. Steve Torrence has been nominated. And we've kind of, before we were starting the show, we were kind of joking that in our industry, unfortunately, that is a success in itself, right?
Yeah.
For the way the world works and where drag racing kind of ranks, which is obviously something that I will spend the rest of my life trying to change. But where we rank in the grand scheme of the motorsports world, it's a huge victory. And I wrote this actually earlier today on Facebook. I'm so proud to see a champion drag racer mentioned alongside Kyle Larson, reigning NASCAR world champion. Max Verstappen, this is a guy, Formula One reigning world champion that has achieved global fame. And to see Steve Torrence, Texas's own Steve Torrence, a good old boy from Texas, mentioned alongside those folks for me. And these are people that are sponsored by Fortune 100 companies, right? These are people sponsored by Red Bull, backed by Red Bull. And to see Steve Torrence representing the Capco boys, some good old boys that earn their living with their hands, you know what I mean, and do it the hard way. To see someone like Steve on that stage, no matter how things shake out, and I've made it clear how I feel about it, and I will let ESPN know how I feel about it, because if Steve doesn't win, it's rigged. It's fake news. I mean, it's literally, it's fake news. If Steve
you have to have one of those.
It's fake news.
You have to be dominant. You have to have one of those dominant seasons like he's had to even get
does,
that nomination. And
yes,
to me, it's like the high tide lifts all boats thing. And to be mentioned alongside those names does a lot for drag racing. And I actually think you get to go to a pretty badass red carpet deal and a party and stuff too. So,
and Steve's built for that. He's got the look. He can wear like a
tag
suit
along?
and a hat.
Can we tag along to that, Steve?
I know. Right.
No, I want to, you know what?
And they need to start, and ESPN needs to start mentioning drag racing more often in their shows. And
hey, listen, I'll derail this whole show crucifying ESPN of their treatment of drag racing. So
and
we'll circle back to that.
They air, as well.
Oh, it's horrific, ladies and gentlemen. Let me bring Steve to the party. JT, bring the reigning champion, 4-time NHRA Top Fuel World Champion, and I believe one of the best to ever do it, the one, the only, Steve Torrence.
What's up, Steve?
Hey guys, what's going on, man?
What's up, big dog?
Man, it's all good. I'm here just trying to stay cool. It's like 102 here. It's hot.
It is hot, man. We started the show talking about, first and foremost, I don't know how in the hell it's July already. The last thing I remember is we were opening Christmas presents, and now we're shooting fireworks. And it's just like, you hear our old buddy Alan Reinhart talk about how you get older, time goes faster, and apparently there's some scientific reason for that or whatever, but it really is true. Like the older, especially when you get kids, every time you turn around, it's like, okay, they were just born, they're crawling, they're walking, now they're moving out.
Exactly.
It's a really, really incredible thing. JT, put Steve and I side by side while we go for a short time here, and we'll bring We'll go to this. Let me see if I can click this thing. There we go. Steve, first and foremost, man, I know we've got a limited amount of time with you. You've got business to take care of today, but I'm curious, can you what's it mean to you to be nominated for best driver? I mean, we know the significance of ESPN in the sporting landscape, but to be mentioned alongside Max Verstappen and Kyle Larson and the other guy from IndyCar, that tells you how much I care about other motorsports. Zero. What's it mean to you to be mentioned alongside those guys, Steve?
It's truly humbling. I mean, to have the opportunity to be recognized as somebody that had so much achievements and so much success in our sport, because you look at Verstappen, you look at Larson, you look at all those other guys, they're the best there is. And so for us to even be on that same platform as those guys and recognized by the ESPYs is truly humbling. I don't think that we'll win. I don't think that we have enough popularity there to do that. And I don't think that that's just a product of drag racing and not getting as much recognition as what we deserved. I know how you feel about that. And you're going to have to go to battle with ESPN and say, hey, this is how we feel, because we don't get the love that we deserve. But I truly am grateful and appreciative to be recognized. This is the second time that I've been nominated, and it's humbling. I mean, you're there, and mainly that's stick and ball sports and a whole different type of athlete. But just to be recognized is something special for me.
I'm glad to hear that, Steve, because that's what I would wish for you, is that you should feel guilty by association. This is a huge honor. And a lot of the things that I say, people know me well enough now to know that I say it tongue in cheek. But I truly do believe that drag racing is the great American motorsport. I watch a NASCAR race and I hear their own announcers, their own people get excited when them things come 2 or 4 wide out of the last turn towards a checkered flag. I would argue that's the most exciting part of a NASCAR race. The same can be said for Formula One. Those things get side by side headed, on the final straightaway. That's the most exciting, exhilarating part of the whole race. And it makes me, proud of what we do here, the original extreme sport. Drag racing, so to your point, fantastic to see you be recognized amongst these motorsport superstars. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about and just really kind of dive into, we've seen you, it's no secret 2022 has been a different season for you than you've been accustomed to the last 4 years, amongst what I would say to be the most dominant performances we've seen in drag racing history, certainly in the conversation, sweeping the countdown. I mean, we're getting excited about people potentially winning 3 in a row, and you just decided to win all of them, right? And I mean, the level of dominance that you've shown over the years, I think, unfortunately, Steve, and I'm going to ask you to get candid and be honest, it's everybody hates a winner. It's a very difficult place for you to be. We've actually written stories about it in Drag Illustrated that all of this is difficult. And I don't mean anything, derogatory when I say these things, but playing from behind is easier. I mean, it's easy to get up when everybody's counting you out. It's easy to get up when you're the underdog, right? And I think that, and over time that can certainly wear on you, but it's a unique challenge to race with a target the size of Texas on your back. Can you kind of peel back a couple layers of the onion and give us some insight into the way the racing community seems to very polarizing? There's people like myself that feel you're one of the best to ever do it, an incredible ambassador for our sport. And then there's people that seem to hate you. I would say, as Howard Stern says, you're winning when they're all talking about you. And that's exactly what you've achieved. But where do you think that's come from? Is it because you've made it look effortless? Is it because of the dominance? Where do you think that, is it all because you got fired up on the top end one time? Where do you think this comes from?
I say this often, people will forgive you for anything except for being successful. And people tend to not like the guy that wins a lot. I remember Tony Schumacher was winning and just dominating and nobody liked him. Oh, that guy wins too much. Well, you know what? He did his job. That team did their job. They worked their butts off, and that's the fruits of their labor. And that's the same success that we've had. We've been able to go out and have one of the best race cars that, not just of the time, but probably one of the best race cars in history, consistently to go out and have that success. And it's all because of the team that I have. And so when you go out and you win, I see all these comments that, oh, he wins too much. Oh, he's cheating. Oh, I hate the little midget. It just does nothing but motivate me more, because in my mind, winning is the only option. Losing is like dying. I hate losing more than anything else. And I don't go, no one else does, but no one goes there with the intent to lose or to be happy about it. So, I think that you hit the nail on the head. It's always easier to stand up, wipe yourself off, and battle back to get to the top. And nobody really pays that much attention, because if you're just the guy that goes out there and every now and then you're successful, or every now and then you win a race, they're not really gunning for you. They just try to beat you a little bit, or they just want to do their job to get by you. But when you're the guy that everybody wants to beat, when you're the champ, whether it's 4-time, 6-time, 8-time, whether it's me, Forrest, Schumacher, whoever it is, you are the guy that they want to beat. That is a goal for them and anyone else. Whether it's me, I love to race Schumacher because I love to beat Schumacher. In my opinion, that guy is one of the best. He's the most winningest driver in Top Fuel history. So I like to beat him. And there's a lot of people that look at me the exact same way. And then there's a lot of keyboard crew chiefs and people that sit in their mom's basement and underwear and talk shit. And I just get tired of them too. But those are the people that won't forgive you for being successful. They don't want you to be happy. They don't want you to do good, because they're mired in their own sorrows.
I'm so glad that you were as candid as you were, because I've really gotten quite defensive of this. I mean, you and I have only gotten to know each other fairly well in the last couple of years. And it's like, I get this proud dad thing going where it's like someone's picking on my kid and I'm ready to fight. You know what I mean? Because I think about, I mean, the stats that we pulled, we've got a limited time with you. We don't have enough time for me to read all this shit. I mean, 11 wins in 20 races. That's absolutely absurd, Steve. I mean, what you've accomplished. I mean, you think about this. Kyle Larson was praised all across motorsports for winning one less in 16 more opportunities. You know what I mean? It's an incredible thing what you've accomplished, and the fact that anybody detracts from it, no matter what they think about, you know, how you act or whatever, is just a shock to me. I will tell you, are you at all surprised that this Cameron Foray thing has had the lifespan it has? I got to be honest, you're a father now. Do you expect anybody on the TV to raise your children or teach them right from wrong? I certainly don't.
You know, Cameron and I were somewhat friends before the incident. Friends now. I talk to him at the racetrack every time he was there. I mean, you know, he lives halfway across the country. He races a limited schedule. When he's there, we communicate. We have a friendship. We have a relationship. The thing that probably is the biggest factor, Cameron is a year or two younger than me. He looks 15. I mean, he just looks young. And so I don't. And I'm the guy out there that picked on the kid. You know, picked on the guy that's trying to fight his way to the top. Okay, yes, I get it. I made a mistake. But you kind of spurred something in me. You're like, quit asking for forgiveness. Quit beating a dead horse. I can't change it. I did it. It happened. I said my piece. I made amends with Cameron and everyone that would accept it. And the people that haven't, that's your own fault, because you don't know me. You see 10 minutes of me a year, maybe, through interviews. You don't live in my shoes. You don't know what I have to do to be where I'm at. You think that you can throw stones when you live in a glass house, but you know, it's just, I'm over it. And so I don't know why it has had so much momentum and it continues, but it seems to be the same people over and over through social. It's the same ones on Facebook for NHRA. And now at this point, I just laugh, because it has to be miserable to be that upset about something, and it's just pathetic.
And for me, what bothers me the most about it is that there are ramifications to those actions, because what we're doing is training not only you, but an entire world of racers to show no emotion, because we're showing them the proof right here that if you do let people know how you feel, or you do raise your voice, or you do get wound up, or God forbid, push some, whatever, you know, I mean, all things considered, you probably should have rolled around in the dirt for a little while, you know, at this stage in the game, if you knew it was going to last this long. But we need you guys to do that. But whenever you're constantly crucified or picked apart for doing it, I mean, Erica Enders has endured this. Pretty much anybody that says anything other than kumbaya and I'm really thankful to be here is a no good SOB. And it sets a terrible precedent, because people are probably, your fellow racers and fellow competitors are seeing what you're contending with, and they're going, well, I guess I'm going to go up there and thank God and my crew chief and head back to the pits, because if I go beyond that, I'm going to be in trouble like Steve. And it's dangerous, because we can't have it both ways. We can't want the sport to be more exciting. We can't want more sponsors. We can't want to sell more tickets. We can't want to be on ESPN. And then, I mean, hell, they fight in baseball like every week, right? I mean, bench is cleared. I think it's awesome, personally.
So it's a prime example of wanting something, and then when you get it, not wanting it. Because NHRA has year after year had meetings. We want you guys to show your personality, show emotion, show drama. They even try to fabricate drama. That's what the points chase countdown is, fabricated drama. And when that situation happened, yes, I was wrong. I should have not handled that the way that I did. But I'm not going to be happy if I lose. I mean, if I go out there and do something stupid and lose, I'm going to be pissed off. If I go out there and you know, it's everything within the rules is fair, but I'm there. I'm a raw emotion, real as it can get kind of guy. And if I tell you what I feel, you're going to either like me or not. But what has happened is everyone has been discouraged from showing their emotions because people will attack you for everything. They'll sit at home and judge you, and they don't know you. But why do people watch NASCAR? Why do people watch all of that stuff to see those emotions? Drivers throw helmets. Drivers run into each other when it's something's happened. I mean, it's rubbing is racing, and we can't do that clearly. I mean, you'll have a crash and run over everybody at the place. But it's I'm tired of the same old stuff, and I'm to a point now. Yes, I have taken my punches and taken my bruises from the things that I've said and done, and it's almost something that you just say, I'm going to get out and say the same cookie cutter interview and no emotion or anything, and go on about my business because I don't want to listen to people's crap. I got out at wherever we were at, and Amanda Busick has asked me over and over and over, how does it feel to not be winning, and what are you going to do, and how can you overcome these obstacles? And I have told her the same answer. We're working on stuff. We know what we're doing. It's coming together, but you can take this season, you can take this points chase and utilize it to your benefit to work on your tune-up, because at the end of the day, you have to be in the top 10. That's it. And so
and then you'll just go win all the sons of bitches. That's what I would tell her. Like, hey, Amanda, here's what we're kind of thinking. We're just going to kind of hang back and we'll just win them all there at the end when it matters. You know what I mean? Like, because I mean, you're capable of doing it. And I mean, I appreciate you saying that, because it is a tough, I respect the situation she's in. She's thrown down there and she's trying to do something, you know, but you're right. I mean, it's, what do people expect you to say? I mean, at a certain point, you're going to get revved up. I mean, I'm glad to see you do.
Well, what I told her, I said, I'm not answering any more negative questions. There's a lot of stuff going on. We can talk about how Tony and Leah and Antron are like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever. I mean, I don't even know where they're at, but I'm third in the points. The two people in front of me have won 7 races. The person behind me has won 2. I haven't won any. So I don't think that we're just completely sucking that bad. I mean, there's other people to talk about. But when you have won 11 of 20 races, you set the bar pretty high, and so you open yourself up for that. But I don't think that we've said from day one, hey, we're going to try something different. We're working on something, and we'll see what it does. We didn't just all of a sudden forget what we were doing after 5 years of, 4 championships and 5 years of dominating. So, I mean, 17, I think we won 8 races in one season and lost the championship on the last day. It is what it is, but it just the same old crap gets tiring.
Well, and I'll tell you, like, whenever I see that from you, I want you to know that what my takeaway is, and obviously I'm biased, but I really believe this to be true. I'm a sales guy, right? So I talk about sales all the time, and I talk to folks and I'll tell them that I can tell how good an insurance salesman is by how much coverage he has on himself. Right? That's how you tell if somebody believes in what they're selling. And whenever I see you, whether it's pitching a fit or jumping up and down or 6 shooting, what I see is a guy that has a lot of coverage. That guy believes in what he's doing. That guy is passionate about this. And it's easy for me to get excited about it when I can tell you are. And I'm not like shooting shots here, but like, Doug Coletta climbs out of the car, and I'm a huge Doug Coletta fan, but it's hard to tell if he could give or take this stuff because he's almost a robot. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, it's hard to determine. We all know that Doug's perhaps one of the best drivers out here, and he's an extremely passionate guy. But that approach, it's a true statement that it's hard to gauge how much he cares about the outcome because he's on to the next thing, and he doesn't get too up, too down. We need that excitement. And when we see that from you, for the handful of haters, I think there are a lot of people that fall further and further in love with your story. Because let's be honest, you're a cancer survivor. You're a good-looking young man from Texas with a beautiful wife and child. You've got everything that we need to be a fantastic ambassador and a fantastic champion for our sport. We need to get behind you. We need you to be as big as we can have you be. And I want you to know that I truly mean it when I say it, that I appreciate what you're doing for our sport, what you have done for our sport. And you don't have to walk around the pits very long. Scott Palmer, How many teams has Capco and the Torrance family contributed to their success? I talk to Nostalgia Nitro guys all the time that are running some of your 10-year-old takeoff heads. I mean, getting crankshafts from you, getting rods and pistons from you. Your contribution to the sport goes far beyond winning races or sponsoring stuff or whatever else. It's tirade there, but it's worth mentioning. People need to know.
At the end of the day, we love drag racing. This is what we've done as a family for years. We have connections through Bobby and Dom Lagana that reach all over the United States, all over the nation, all over the world. We sell parts to Australia. We sell parts in Sweden. I mean, we do a lot of stuff all over. We have Trip Tatum. We help Krista Baldwin. We help, I mean,
and how about those boys? How about Bobby Lagana and Dom? Those two, I think, are one of the most incredible stories that exist in drag racing, and it shouldn't be lost on us that this opportunity that they're having to demonstrate, because they've been around for a long time, but they have been given a platform, given an opportunity to let the world know what they're capable of. I mean, Bobby's got 4 championship rings on his hand. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying maybe that would have come some other way, but I believe it's highly unlikely. You know, the pairing of yourself and your entire team, obviously your dad and your family, and there's a lot of people involved, but I'm so thankful that they've had the opportunity to shine here, right?
Unbelievable. Two gentlemen right there. Bobby and Dom have been with us since 2013. Wow. Right around the time their father passed away, and their family. They're brothers to me. Mama Kay is a mother to them, and it's just it really is humbling and just really special, because when you get to know the Laganas, drag racing only is their life. Bobby Lagana is at the shop before anybody and after everybody every day. That's what he does, and Dom as well. And they live it, they breathe it. It is every bit of them. And to know how much of their life they've dedicated to this, and to be able to have a little part of the success with them is icing on the cake for everything that we've done. Because Bobby Lagana is the guy that we had to tell, quit ripping your shirts off when we win races, quit tackling everybody, quit burning your shirt when we win races. But he's so excited. I mean, these guys, they're the ramp truck guys. They're the guys that have had a top fuel car in their garage with a hole cut in the door that the nose stuck out of. They are the true epitome of what it is to just embody drag racing. I mean, that's all they've ever done their whole life with their old man, with their family. They didn't have a car when they came to work for me. They drove the race rig to Indy. So, I mean, and Bobby for years has lived in a hotel. Now they finally bought a house with everything that's happened. But
I was in Phoenix, Arizona, and it was 6 million degrees for whatever what's it, the third race on the tour, second, third, whatever. Yeah. Second race, and we were out there, and we went back to the hotel, and it was, it'd been a brutal hot day, and this was the year the NHRA had decided to pull back on track prep, and everybody was, it was a rough weekend at the drag strip, right? And I'm in the hotel lobby enjoying a cocktail like a gentleman, and here they come with a PlayStation, with a PS2, and I mean, they're got clutch dust on them, they're dirty, sweaty, and they walk up, don't go up to their room and get cleaned up like I would, right? They go straight over there, unplug the TV from the wall, all the cables, and plug in their PlayStation and start playing drag racing on a video game that's 20 years old.
Two of the biggest kids you will ever meet.
Unbelievable.
And the relationships that we've built through them with just all of their uncles come to the races. It's, and all of Bobby Senior's buddies, they're all kind of tipped over now. The original chain gang is almost done, but it's so many characters that you get to meet with just being associated and part of them. But Richard Hogan is the brain trust of everything, and Bobby compliments him in every way. And he's just, I tell everybody, Bobby and Dom are the glue of our team. They hold everybody together. They keep everything in the right place. And they're also insulation for Richard, because Richard is, you just got to know Hoagie, but you keep him in there and you support him, and everything goes well. And if I never win another race, it's been an unbelievable ride with a great group of guys.
And what a joy it has been to watch. You're late for a meeting. I know you got to go, but I'm going to ask you one thing. Would 2022 mean anything different? Would a 5th straight title, just with the situation we've talked about, having not gotten one under your belt yet in 2022, yeah, obviously sitting pretty in the points, but does this year feel at all different to you? I mean, from the outside looking in, the level of competition, specifically on the starting line, everybody seems to have a really fast car, but the driving, the gamesmanship is high, the driving level is high. Does this year feel different to you, and would it mean something more to get it done in 2022?
I don't think it feels different. I think at first you succumb to, or you could succumb to some pressure, but after being as successful as we have, you just kind of roll with the punches and go on and do your job. I think that I have personally never benefited from the point system, the way that it goes down. Every year that we've won the championship, we went into the countdown already leading the championship and took a significant points loss by that happening. So I would like to try to flip that around. I would like to be where we're at or somewhere further back and just flip the switch on and give everybody a little bit of their own medicine, because I think that that would be something to really flip the roles, reverse it, and we'll just see how that goes. But I mean, we're building up, and we're really working hard at getting things to go good and concentrating on that last 6.
We cannot wait to see how this unfolds, buddy. It will be, no matter how it all shakes out, it's going to be an incredible chapter in the Steve Torrence story, brother. Thank you so much for your time. Get on down the road, and we'll do this again sometime. I'm going to trap you at one of these deals, and we're going to talk for like 2 hours. All right?
Sounds good, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Hush. Thank you.
See you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Torrence. How about this guy? We need him on camera way more often than he is. Mike, I'm sorry I kind of squeezed you out there. I knew we were on limited time.
No, all good, man. I was enjoying that. Steve was bringing it today.
Do you agree? I mean, am I wrong?
No, man. I mean, that was a great interview, and that's what we love to do here, is to let these guys say what their piece and defend whatever actions they're getting destroyed for, or, you know, present the other piece of the puzzle. And I think that was awesome. We need, as you said, we need more of that. And
I mean, JT, would you throw up that ESPY's graphic? I mean, let's continue the case making here while we've got a little bit of time, Mike. I mean, you're way more, how do you say? You're way better, way more well-versed in stick and ball sports than I am. But like, can you speak to the level of dominance? I mean, if you think about it, I believe these stats we pulled earlier, he was in 70% of the final rounds that happened last year. I mean, obviously, it's well established that it's a pipe dream for a drag racer to win best driver, the ESPY for best driver. So everybody calm down, right? I get it that I'm you know, this is perhaps an impossibility, but do you believe the case can be made? I mean, let's be honest. If all things were equal and you had to compare the season that Max Verstappen had, Alex, the IndyCar guy, and Kyle Larson to Steve Torrence, do you agree?
I agree. I think that, and this has been the case for several seasons. I remember in Erica's 2015 season, or in Schumacher's late 2000s seasons, the stats were just so lopsided. But I guess it becomes a popularity contest, or who makes the biggest impact and whatever. ESPN has to make those decisions a lot like we do when we make our decisions on our list. And
I didn't think Steve would ever talk to me again after we didn't choose him for Racer of the Year. You know, I didn't know that, and he deserved it. You know, I mean, he absolutely deserved it. But there was a lot.
He actually made a great point. I want to reiterate a point that he made at the end of his interview, that he has never benefited from the point system. It's only been a detriment to him, because he's dominated throughout the early part of the season, and then he's gone into the countdown and gets, you know, his massive lead that he's built up chopped off to 10 points or whatever it is, 100 points, however they do it, where they bring everybody within so many points of each other. And that is a great point that I don't think we talk about enough. And it makes me think, just based on his interview, based on everything he's saying, he even told Amanda Music in his top end interview, we're working on something that the second half of the season and the countdown could look totally different.
Dude, I got goosebumps.
Yeah.
I mean, I get excited about this stuff, man, because what a story it would be for him to kind of hang back and have been doing it. I remember one time somebody that everybody knows I look up to and idolize, Shannon the Iceman Jenkins. He was struggling with a new engine combination, a new cylinder head design, and they were trying some things. And this is kind of at the height of the ADRL craze, and Jim Halsey was running really well, and there was a lot of competition amongst engine builders, and Shannon was struggling. And I remember him looking at me in between draws off a Marlboro Light, telling me that he goes, "Oh, don't you worry, Wes. They're laughing at me now, but they won't be soon." And that's
just
how
like
that's how I see here.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a lot of these nostalgia guys running Torrance parts. Spencer Hyde, Canadian Pro Mod driver, said he drove the patent car this past weekend. He believes it had a lot of Torrance parts in it. And just like Shannon, we depended on Shannon to go out there and melt shit down and to, take the jets out of this thing and to, put all the timing in it to just see where the limits were, because we couldn't afford to do it. And then maybe, if he had some decent parts left over that he was getting rid of, that maybe we could get them. And that is kind of the same thing. You kind of depend on these guys to blaze those paths. And I don't think we see it as much anymore, especially in fuel racing, but it would be interesting as hell to see, to all of a sudden see these guys just jump right back up there. And after all this, after all they were saying, he's still third in points. I think that's the part that we forget, is that he hasn't won a race, but all the consistency and just, what that team brings to the table, they're third in points. So they're right there, and it's going to be interesting to see.
I can't wait. And if that is the case, I mean, for me, this is really sets the stage. I can't remember the last time that I've been this excited about, the fast approaching NHRA countdown to the championship, right? I mean, we're amped up over the Western Swing, of course, but to start thinking about the situations and the scenarios that could unfold later this year, I mean, God forbid somebody like Steve Torrance went into the championship, the countdown, third in points or whatever, but winless, and managed to get it done. It would only add to the legend of Steve Torrance, and it would be, I love a great story, and I think this is a fantastic story. And I do hope folks in our industry start to rally around guys like Steve Torrance, because I think this is worth mentioning. I saw Mark Beatty, our dear friend from the team over at Redline Oil, one of our long-term supporters here at Drag Illustrated, and specifically with the Wes Buck Show, talking about, you can see Steve light up when he talks about other people. This is a good guy. This is a great guy, a great ambassador for our sport. And we have to be careful, because no matter how thick your skin is, no matter how thick your wallet is, no matter what, it gets old. Getting picked at and picked on and that's a
and always focusing on the negatives. Here's a guy that's won all these championships and had all this domination, but we're going to talk about the Camrie Caruso deal or his interview with Amanda. But what we think of those when we see that is, show us that emotion. Yeah. Show us that you care. We talk about that all the time, but it gets taken out of context and it gets misconstrued and blasted all over the internet, to where all those accomplishments almost get overshadowed by those few things. You made a good point in the interview. We can't allow that to happen. We can't encourage that kind of thing to happen. We have to continue to encourage Amanda to ask the tough questions, for Steve to make the tough answer, to, all these things. And
as a fan base and as a community, we have to support these people. Like, we should be the first line of defense, because when they're putting themselves out there, like, let's not pile on. Let's stand up and let's defend them. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, and the way I view the racing community, this is my extended family. I don't care if you race Top Fuel, Top Junior Dragster, Pro Motorcycle, whatever. If you've rolled up, if you've rolled through the water and bumped in and turned on that bottom bulb, you are my kind of guy or gal. And I don't care if you're an East Coast New Yorker that's an asshole, or if you're a good old boy from the Southeast, or you're a super
is that a stereotype?
That's a huge
everybody,
stereotype.
yeah.
But I was doing it on purpose. I don't
Disclaimer,
care.
not everyone from the Northeast is an
A
asshole.
large majority of them. No, I'm just joking. But I don't care where you're at, but like, you're a racer, and we have to band together. We can accomplish a lot more as a unified group of people. And I think that that's honestly, I mean, that's what these other sports have on us, is that like football guys are, they may root for their team, but they support their sport. And, they are big on their sport, and they go to the games. And like, I think about guys like JT, even when their team's not winning, they're buying season tickets. Yourself as well. Like it's
I'm
just
big
weird.
into buying season tickets when my team's not winning.
Yeah. You don't have a choice, unfortunately. Sorry.
JT's had it made for the last few years.
But he's got an entire lifetime of being a Chiefs fan when they were horrible. But he is a football fan. He watches the Super Bowl. He watches the playoffs. And drag racers were really bad about, like, when we go out, we load our shit up and go home. And I get it if you've got work tomorrow morning. But like, sometimes we could help those stands be a little bit more full on Saturday night if we wouldn't just abandon ship when shit goes south for us.
And we have to be able to have these conversations. So much of the prominence of NBA, NFL, all that stuff is the controversy, the rumors, the willingness to just say it like it is and just say, here's my top 5 list. And I don't think that this guy's as good as everybody else. We're too afraid to say that in drag racing. It's all too close to the heart, too tight knit. But some of that stuff is kind of what moves the whole thing forward. It's kind of what increases the notoriety for the sport. It's what brings more eyeballs to it.
I was so
we have to encourage it.
We made this post on the Drag Illustrated website, dragillustrated.com. If you don't go there daily, something's wrong with you. Go to dragillustrated.com. We made this post about Steve Torrence being nominated for the ESPY Best Driver 2022. And I'm like so excited. I'm like proud, that a drag racer is being mentioned, guilty by association. As I said when I was talking to Steve, we make the post on Facebook and it's instantly, oh, he doesn't deserve it, blah, blah, he's a jerk. And I'm going, you guys are so skewed. You're missing the point. Like, how bad's your home life, right? Like, you probably need to get outside, get some sunshine, go to church on Sunday. You know what I mean? Help somebody, go volunteer at a school, because like, there are way worse things happening in the world than somebody, your least favorite drag racer getting nominated for an award. And we need to be supporting him, because whatever good comes to Steve Torrence, it's good for our whole sport. The more eyeballs that can be put on the sport of drag racing, we all benefit from it. And I do think it's worth, I don't mean to scold anybody, and I hope everybody out there watching understands that that's not at all where I'm coming from. I just want to remind you that we got to rally around one another and support those that are in these moments where, hey, it could take us a couple little nudge and maybe he wins the thing. I mean, I wasn't paying close enough attention, when John Force got nominated all those times, or Tony Schumacher got nominated all those times. But I hope that everybody, maybe we could have got one of them guys across the finish line had we not all been tearing them down, because I don't see that happening. I looked on Formula One's website, I looked on Formula One's Facebook page, and Max Verstappen gets nominated for an award, and all the fans are on there going, yeah, I hope he wins, right? And it's just, come on, guys.
That's a good point.
I think we've got to get we got to get our head right about this stuff. And let's be honest, a lot of it's rooted in jealousy. It's no secret that the Capco business is very significant. The Torrance family is well-to-do financially, but thank God they're spending their money drag racing. They could be fishermen, right? They could be pro bowlers or something horrific like that, or be into soccer, which I'm really against. Basically, blanket statement.
Man, you're just full of the stereotypes today, bud.
I am. And I just don't like soccer.
Well, hey, speaking of spending money in racing, they've contracted our boy Corey Mahalik, React 104, to do some badass video work for him. Let's book in the Steve Torrence conversation with this video that we were hoping to play earlier, but we had to get Steve on so that he could make his meeting.
Send it.
Steve Torrence is making his way around the corner, and it almost feels, Tony, that they've made a grand mistake about letting that team up off the mat.
All eyes on the way I thought when I walk into the room. Wind blows underneath the soles of my brand new parachute. Got the attention.
Before time.
I'm on a mission.
and reigning Camping World Champion.
Step, I got a fresh new attitude. Oh my, 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 oh my, my, my. Call me a king, can you buy me a crown? Oh my, 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 oh my, my, my. I'm leveled up.
You very well may see this Capco car in the final round today, and we're going to do everything we can to get it there.
And this is my world. This is my world now. This is my world now.
And it's Steve Torrence heading to a final round.
This is my world now.
Them Capco boys are headed to a final.
This is my world now.
I didn't know. Holy moly.
How sick is that, man? I think you've made it in life when you get a React 104 video.
I think it's
about
going
you.
to
One
quickly
day,
become a status symbol.
one day I'm going to get me one. I'm going to get Corey. I just have to have some life highlights first.
Yeah, hit him up and let's get like a 6-pack of them. We'll do one for me, one for you. We'll do two. We'll probably need to do 2 for T. You know,
Yeah.
one at the racetrack, one at the golf course, maybe 3, one at the bar. Because he produces a lot of highlight reel stuff.
T's got a lot of content. He's a content factory.
He is a content factory, man. Well, hey, thank you for sharing that. And huge shout out to our longtime friend of Drag Illustrated, Foodies, as we like to call them, Corey Mahalik and React 104. That was an incredible video, man. He's so talented. It's almost unbelievable.
He just cranks those out too. He's got them all over the place.
Before we move on, guys, I want to touch momentarily on a really unfortunate incident that took place this past week in Michigan. We lost yet another member of the drag racing community. It's almost unbelievable how many of these tragic moments we have had here over the course of the last few weeks. But as is well known at this point, the sport of drag racing lost a true showman, one of our sport's best and brightest. 40-year-old Chris Darnell, driver of the Shockwave jet truck, was fatally injured in an accident during an air show in Martin, Michigan, or not Martin. I keep saying Martin, Michigan, because it's like the town I know for drag racing, but out, I believe Battle Creek, Michigan, in the lead up to the holiday weekend. And I'd just like to say on behalf of everyone here at Drag Illustrated Magazine, all of us on the West Buck Show, and perhaps on behalf of the entire sport of drag racing, our heart goes out to the Shockwave team, the Darnell family. This is a young man with a whole lot of life left, and it's impossibly difficult to wrap your head around how these things happen, why they happen. It's never going to get easier, never going to become any less painful. But the dangers involved with the sport of drag racing are well known. They're inherent, they're unavoidable. And we are very blessed as a sport to have had the track record that we do. But I just would like to say that, again, on behalf of all of us here, our heart goes out to the Darnell family, everybody involved, everybody that was there and unfortunately had to bear witness to this wild scene on a runway there. Really a heartbreaking moment. And Mike, I'd like to take a second here and just throw a picture of Chris up on the screen for those that were not familiar with the man. He and his family had made a living touring around the country, putting on shows, entertaining fans. And I would like to continue this conversation, but let's take a quick moment here and pay our respect to the late Chris Darnell. Mike, I got to say, I mentioned this to you over the weekend, that one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, and we'll just touch on this briefly while we wrap up this particular conversation. But I was lucky enough this past weekend to head up to my old stomping ground, Eddyville Raceway Park in Southeast Iowa, right outside of Oskaloosa, the bustling metropolis of Oskaloosa, Iowa.
So
took in a night of drag racing at the annual Night of Fire, Musco Lighting Night of Fire at Eddyville Raceway Park. And I got to tell you, I was reminded during the course of that event how significant these jet cars, jet trucks, wheel standers, how much they contribute to our sport. And while I continue my sermon here today, I do think it's mentioning, and as someone who's spent a lot of time, as well as I have, at the drag strip, going to big booked-in shows, match races, holiday weekend events, do you agree? I mean, I think our sport, we're quick to bag on the jet car guys, right? Oh, what do they got jet cars here for? Get them out of the way or whatever. And, it used to be they leak kerosene and this, that, and the other. But I got to tell you, when you want to pop from your crowd, you want to hear people lose it. You want to hear kids screaming and yelling, and you want to hear people stand up and cheer. Put a couple of jet cars out there, a dozen afterburner pops later, and a shot down that racetrack, and you've got one. No matter what has happened prior to that moment, you've got some satisfied customers. Do you agree that we perhaps don't realize how valuable these exhibition cars, such as jet cars and wheel standers, are to our sport?
Absolutely, man. I mean, it goes back to our conversation that we're taking all this kind of stuff out of the sport, that we want to do short burnouts, that we want to have cars that don't do a wheelie when they leave the line, all these things, part of the show, nitrous purges. And these cars are a big part of the show, whether we like it or not. The performance, we're not gauging their performance. I mean, I know they do race these things occasionally. And in this case, this guy was racing a jet plane, doing something probably even more extreme and going even faster than he would on a quarter-mile drag strip. And I think that we don't put enough emphasis on these showmen. We've had blowback in the magazine. Actually, this past month in the Women of Power, we did a feature on Elaine Larson and her dynasty, I guess you would say, of jet car drive. She's kind of the mentor and brings in new jet car driving talent, specifically female talent, via her partnerships down there in Florida and everything she's done. It's a great story if you guys want to check it out in the issue of the magazine that's available online right now. But we get feedback on that. Why are you guys taking up space with these cars? But to us, it is a part of the show. We grew up with it, and match racing, funny cars, pro mods, all these things, they're built on the show, and it doesn't hurt to have these things, like you said, come in at the end of the night and go down the track with fireworks going off and really send your crowd home, especially the kids, especially the younger audience. I can remember as a kid going to Super Chevy shows with my dad. I wanted to see the jet cars when I was 5, 6, 7 years old, 8 years old. I'm like, when are the jet cars running? Because that's what I wanted to see. And that kind of got me hooked or excited. So you never know what is going to be the hook that sinks its teeth into the next generation of drag racers. And if it's something like a jet car, so be it.
That's exactly how I feel about it. And I'll tell you what, I think all of us could learn, in my opinion, a little something from these jet car drivers. I mean, you roll up to any jet car racer's pit area, and whether they've got a 40-foot Chaparral that was built in 75 or a stacker, they behave like John Force. They're out there signing autographs. They've got crew shirts. They've got hero cards. They're doing the song and dance. And I think our entire sport could learn a little bit from that, right? That it's okay to embrace being a showman. It's okay. Of course you want to be competitive. That should go. One of my business mentors early on, he would say this thing: that's not a goal, that's an expectation, right? I mean, of course you want to be competitive. Of course you want to win the race. But if you really want to make a difference, have a lasting impact, man, sign some autographs, pose for some photos, put on a show out on the drag strip. And that's one of the things that I would like to touch on momentarily, is that was something that I saw in some regards lacking a little bit this past weekend up at the Night of Fire in Eddyville. I was watching, and I feel like our sport, we have to resist the streamlining of these things. I mean, you hear so much about how long it takes to run this class and how long it takes to run a pair of these cars, and everybody's got their stopwatch out. How quick. I often think that we have gotten so caught up with speeding up the show, right? Everybody talks about the ever shortening attention span of the human being in 2022. It's getting shorter all the time, right? However, we can't get so caught up in shortening the show and speeding up the show that we sacrifice the show itself, right? And I see, I've heard people tell me about, Nitro funny cars that, hey, we don't have to raise those bodies up, I've had multiple crew members, a handful of crew chiefs in the NHRA ranks tell me, man, we don't have to. We could speed that whole deal up. We don't have to lift the bodies up after the burnout. And I want to grab them by the shoulders and like shake them. Like, no. It should be mandatory that you have to lift the body, right? I mean, I almost think that we should wrap our heads around how can we make sure every pair of funny cars lasts at least 5 minutes, right? How can we add some depth to this? Because all of that pomp and circumstance, all of that pageantry is important, and it makes a difference. And I'm telling you out there, if you're earning your living match racing, if you're one of these young men or women or someone who's been doing it for a while, here's a refresher: back up from your burnout slow. Hopefully you did a long one. If you didn't, you should be ashamed of yourself, right? Fan the doors, have more crew guys than you need. There was a video a few years ago that pissed me off to no end. Tim McCamus put out a video, right, talking about how if you need someone to back you up from your burnout and pull you into the beams, you shouldn't be driving. Well, that's clearly why Tim doesn't run a drag racing sanctioning body, right? Because that should be mandatory. You're missing the point, right? I mean, the whole idea is to put on a show.
We forgot about this. How about the video you posted on the DI social media about a week ago of John Force doing these? I mean, it kind of blew my mind to see him doing these
full track burnouts.
It's like, wow, man, it wasn't that long ago that's what you expected. Big, smoky. I mean, you couldn't even see through the smoke.
I know.
And now, and now we don't get any of that.
I mean, and I see Billy Carroll, a longtime friend of the show, mandatory backup girls. I mean, agreed. I mean, it's such a part of what we do, and we cannot sacrifice everything that makes our sport great in an effort to streamline it or an effort to go quicker and faster. That part of the experience of going to the drag race are all those things, right? I mean, I often think about it like bull riding. Have you ever been to a bull riding event? I mean, the guy doesn't just jump on the bull, right, and run out into the arena. No, they're strapping his, trying to get his wrist strapped down there, and they got guys patting him on the back and saying prayers, you know what I mean? And pointing at the sky and if you went out there and just like didn't even move and just rode that thing like it was nothing,
I'll tell you, the arena would be empty.
Too easy, man. Dominated that thing. 8 seconds. Wasn't that the movie? 8 seconds, man.
Yeah, right. I mean,
no, it's like this dude looks like.
Is he hung up? No, he's riding for lane. Yeah, man, you got to get it going,
right? I mean, you got to get it going, and I think it drives me crazy because please take some time, take some time staging, have somebody wiping your tires off, even if there's not rocks on them. You know what I'm saying? Or spend some time putting on a show, and I promise you it will make a difference. Obviously, there's a time and place for it.
Mikey Ouellette. JT makes fun of me because I get all the good last names. I think that's how you say it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Nitro at night. It's as simple as that too. Delay the show. Make the show, start it later. But let's run these Nitro cars at night. The fact that you have a Friday night session and don't run or in the Nitro cars
someone should be fired. Period. You can't. Somebody, I would clean house. If they shoot fires out of them, we're gonna lean into that. We're not gonna lean away from it. We're gonna lean into that. And I see Selena in the comments here. I mean, there are things that I see like Matt and Angie Smith do. I mean, they've got a small army when they go up to the starting line. They got Lisa from Denzo, and they got all the crew guys.
You got the flag. The Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
They got the Denzo Hacksaw Jim Duggan flag. We need more of that. I mean, you got Matt up there getting Angie straight, patting her on the back. I mean, how significant and serious this moment is when you see all of that pageantry around it. I mean, if I was NHRA, I would have, you wouldn't be able to climb in a funny car unless you'd been on oxygen for a while, because I just want that shot on camera, right? I don't care I don't care if it's helium, you know what I mean? And we're doing it so we can make fun of each other, but like play the part, guys. I mean, and it's not, and what's weird is none of the things that we're talking about right here cost a ton of money. We're not asking anybody to change their program dramatically. Just recognize that we can't have it both ways. We can't want the stands full of people. We can't want more sponsors. We can't want more payout and lower entry fees, right? We can't want all these things. We can't want TV coverage. We can't want to go viral on social media. We can't want to be famous on YouTube and then not do any of the shit required to achieve that. Right. And it's very, very interesting to me. And I look around and there's a guy right now, name dropping Tommy Gray, you know, in the Undertaker Pro Mod team that for the longest time brought a Grim Reaper out on the starting line with them. You know, it's like, guys, that's the type of stuff it takes to really move our sport into especially in the 21st century, man. People expect a lot. They expect to be entertained. You know, and we have the greatest show on earth, certainly the greatest motorsports show on earth, but we're missing all the pageantry. We're missing all the extra stuff. And I just hope that, you know, take this with you into your, you know, the next time you're the main event, right? The next time you're the show on Saturday night, or you're the last 2 cars left. I get it. You want to win, right? But do you want to leave a legacy? Do you want to make an impact? Do you want a long line at your funeral, right? This is how you do it.
We're
right?
getting some great suggestions in here. Chuck Hicks, bullhorns on nitrous cars. That's another thing we've done away with that took away from the show. Cars with names, characters. Tommy Gray was a great example of a really identifiable, you know, crazy paint scheme that was, you know, made his car a character. Now we're just like, I want gray or black.
Here's the issue is that someone has to be willing, and forgive me if you've heard this before, but I would argue that Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant would not be Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant without Vince McMahon, right? There has to be a circus man,
I don't know
master.
How much everyone follows old school wrestling. Hulk Hogan is known as one of the worst technical wrestlers of all time. That would be like someone who can't win a race or is terrible leaving the line, blows their shit up there, but has the best looking car, does the best hospitality, has the best merch, kills it on social. That's Hulk Hogan in the 80s and 90s.
Many of the biggest stars like Buff Bagwell, right? Scott Steiner. These guys had huge followings, right? I mean, they were real celebrities in that world, sporting celebrities, and they were horrible wrestlers. I mean, they could barely climb over the ring ropes, right? You know what I mean? Let alone jump off them or anything like that. And it's a great reminder, and I'm glad you brought that up, Mike, because someone has to let them do what they're good at and protect them from themselves. And I think that that's one of the things when you specifically the zoomies versus bullhorns thing, that is where that's racers doing what racers do. We're all guilty of it. Sacrifice anything in the name of performance. And I get it, but there has to be someone that's paying attention to the overall deal, looking at the value and the quality of the show and going, hey, look, guys, I know we could all pick up a little bit, but it's going to kill our show.
It made me proud. I remember in the 80RL days, it was Pro Extreme. These cars were 0.2 of a second quicker than we were, but I was like, but our shit shoots flames. It's like that. And so we win. Like ours is cooler. Ours is better. The fans love it more. I took great pride in that we were putting on a better show, in my opinion. Not that those cars weren't badass, and everyone that loves blowers and all that, and the, you know, pushing the boundaries. But when we came up there, you know, we're going to have flames over the roof. And I thought that was just the coolest thing. Every car had them at that time.
It is the coolest thing. And I truly think that we have to be careful of losing our way here, right? Like we all want to see the cars go fast, and we certainly want to see safety advancements. We love to see the cars becoming more consistent. That's one of the things that I really love about it, specifically like door slammer racing here in 2022. It is great that we see a lot of great side-by-side runs. It's fantastic. However, I do think it could be argued that we've lost some of the violence and chaos that Pro Modified became Pro Modified because of, right? The underground following that this particular style of drag racing has, I believe, is rooted in a handful of things: cars with names, big personalities, right? Multiple power adders, but specifically being completely unpredictable. You know, we've made the cars far more predictable, but I do think we could offset some of that with a little bit of pageantry. Right? I mean, I'm not saying you got to go full Stevie Jackson 2017 Bandamere Speedway World Series of Pro Mod, but man, let's light the hides out here. Let's put on a show. Let's do some burnouts. And it's tough. Maybe the guilt goes around. We're all guilty of it. We here at Drag Illustrated, we have a role in it, right? We all are bad about celebrating world record runs and focusing, a laser focus on performance. I get it. But we really do have to recognize that if we want this sport to be what it can be, and this is me, hand to God, I'm very happy with our sports station, where we're at currently. I'm so thankful and grateful for what we're accomplishing, and we're on Fox, and so many great things are happening. Flow Racing has, tens of thousands of people that are watching these races all over the country. There's a lot of drag racing going on, but I'm not willing to settle for this. I think that this is a group of people in a community and a sport that deserves more than it has currently. Right. I mean, I was watching ESPN this morning, and I'm watching through the top 10, and it's some Wimbledon, whatever it's called, tennis thing, and then some golf shot or whatever. And I'm like, how is there not a burnout, a launch, a crazy crash?
Was the F1 crash
from this?
Was the F1 crash in there this
I
week?
believe it was.
This weekend? Yeah, it had to be.
Yeah, I believe it was.
And you know what's the bad part is? I was watching that live, and I saw that happen. I thought, well, that'll be on SportsCenter. That's the kind of stuff that it takes to have happen, even in Formula One. Besides that, and ESPN carries Formula One. That's the broadcast network for them.
They literally had on the World Chasing. What was it? World Chasing Tournament the other day.
Oh, they play tag.
It's adult. It's adult tag.
That's the cornhole league.
Yeah, but the chasing tournament. It's adult tag.
No, I know. I'm just saying cornhole kind of fits in that category too.
Is very, that's sophisticated sport around here. Don't be hating on that, Mike. But
my bad.
Yeah, but adult tag, come on, man. That's crazy.
But here's a great example. Nincy, our dear friend, NC Pro Modder, Warren, he just put Mark Caruso deserved to win the Burnout contest out there at World Series of Pro Mod. Stevie won on popularity. That popularity comes from a lifetime spent putting on a show, right? I mean, he won that and would win again probably if he just cracked the throttle because of the brand and following he's built. And that's not that Mark Caruso likely did deserve to win that Burnout contest, but it's an example of what I'm talking about. Exactly what I'm talking about is that Stevie's built this following, and they're going to vote for him, right, wrong, or indifferent, because of the throttle wax, because of the burnouts, because of everything that he's done and the trash talking on the internet. He's built a following that's going to cast their vote for him regardless. Right. So it really is a fun and interesting conversation, man. I don't know. I really don't know what we have to do. You know what? Maybe it's an ongoing contest. I'm telling you what, maybe it's a Drag Illustrated Burnout bounty. And we do a contest in conjunction with one of our sponsors.
Well, at our next race, we've got to bring back the Burnout contest.
Done deal. We put up $5,000 for that Burnout contest. And you know what I may do is put up $5,000 every round for the Burnout, the best Burnout of the round. That's probably a good use of funds, right? Because instead of just having one round where people are challenged to do a big Burnout, let's, we do 4 rounds of qualifying. You can only win once, type of deal. And each round pays big money, right? I mean, it's time. Somebody's got to bring some showmanship to this stuff, because our sport, it deserves better. It really does. We have some of the most incredible people, the most incredible competitors, the most incredible machinery on the planet Earth. I know we can do better than this fight.
Spencer High wants to know, where is the next race? And I think all I can say is stay tuned.
Yeah. Listen, I gave him a chance. I'm going to get all bent out of shape.
Oh,
here.
Dude, you're fired up.
Right.
You're on the chip. You're hitting that limiter.
I don't know why.
Missouri West is way more heated than Fort Worth West.
I'm salty. Here, I gave everybody a chance. I said, you know what? We're gonna pull back. I'm gonna let NHRA do it. They've got a great season. I'm gonna let these other guys do it. Well, I gave you a chance. So game over. Everybody's playing for second place starting the beginning of 2023. Oh. I'm glad you guys are gonna have a full season of testing. Getting ready for the one that matters. So, but anyways, I'm going to go take 3 Xanax.
Yep, you need that.
And try to calm down. What else do we got to cover, Michael? We were supposed to be joined like 15 minutes ago by the one and only Camrie Caruso, but I'm sure she's testing.
Yeah, she is testing in Denver and has been for the past couple of days. And there was a little bit of, concern if she would be able to fit it in or get adequate internet. So we'll have to have her on again soon.
We will. Last 12 minutes or so of the show, Mike, I'd like to dive into this. NHRA put the Pro Mod world on its ear. Not terribly surprising, July 1st, with a major announcement that they would be amending the NHRA Pro Mod rules. Stevie Jackson posted on Facebook, kind of broke the news, referring
Stevie
to
Care.
the announcement as Stevie Care. The NHRA reduced
Is that like
the
Apple
overdrive.
Care, or what is that?
I thought it was more like Obamacare.
Oh, okay, I got you.
I think it was a political reference. Basically, the screw type superchargers have been pulled back from 75% overdrive to 65%. The root style superchargers have seen a reduction in weight of 25 pounds. So they'll be competing now at 2,615 pounds with driver, of course. And another one that I think it kind of slipped in under the radar because there was so much focus on the screw blower. The ProCharge combination, the centrifugal supercharge combination, has seen a RPM limit reduced from 10,000 to 9,500, which I believe is very, very significant. Mike, were you at all surprised by this based on the performance of Stevie Fast Jackson in Norwalk, that 5.7 with a 5.70 with a 1 heard around the world?
No, not surprised at all. I don't think anyone is surprised, the least of all Stevie Jackson. Another win for Stevie. I think this is what he set out to have happen. Got 25 pounds off of his preferred combination, the Roots blowers. Got the ProChargers knocked down by 500 RPMs and got 10% taken off the screw blown overdrive. So another win for Stevie. Chalked that one up. It'll be interesting to see what these rules actually do, if it has much effect, and what Stevie does. Does he come up with the Roots? Does he come out with a screw? Does he continue to be leaps and bounds ahead of that? Do we see the other screw blown cars step up or fall back based on this rule change? Interesting to see. I'm glad to see NHRA being proactive about it and staying on top of it.
Man, I am too. I don't know, to be honest. The big question I think that's looming is, do you think that he'll stick? I mean, what's going to become of the screw blower combination? Because the thing that's interesting is that we've not seen anybody else. I mean, I guess it's only been Stan Shelton, right?
Yep.
We've seen him run really well.
And we heard that there was rumors of more coming, especially after Stevie's deal. But now, what's that going to? What is this rule change, or the fact that NHRA seems to be willing to make these midseason rule changes? What's that going to do?
Weren't we under the impression that there was going to be like 2, 3, 4 new screw blower cars show up by the time the NHRA Pro Mod Drag Racing Series rolled around to Topeka? I wonder if that will be the same situation, because a lot of the cars that we're talking about making that change were ProCharger cars. Yep. So now that we've seen a rule change that impacts them both, 95, this rev limiter change, and now we also have this,
which I think is probably more significant than the 10% off the overdrive on the screws, because I think that what's really set those ProChargers apart, I guess, from maybe the back of the pack or middle of the pack to the ones that run up at the front is how hard they're pushing them. So we'll see if that reduction in from 10,000 to 9,500, what that does. But Bruce Barth has a good comment in here that I wanted to touch on. He said, Nitrous guys need some love with these rules. But my question to everybody is, what are you going to give the Nitrous guys?
This is what you've been saying.
This is my argument. The Nitrous, what are you going to give them? Weight off these cars already. They can't get any lighter. They can't get any lighter. Most of them, if not all of them, are already at least 25 pounds above the minimum of what they could be, just because you can't get a car any lighter. There's no. It's got a
1,000 cubic inch engine in it. It's got a giant nitrous bottle in it. I mean, it's not like we've got jockeys inside these cars. I mean,
so these nitrous cars are running. They're running at their limit, in my opinion. I mean, within safe limits of what they can do to not tear everything up. They're doing what they can, and all the other combinations have to be kept in check because they have the potential to make so much more power. That is my point about the nitrous cars versus these other combinations. With all the weight hung on them, 200 plus pounds, and how little overdrive they're running on them, it just shows what they're capable of, and kind of touches on our conversation from last week. So
what do you think about this? Great comment from Spencer Hyde. So basically, to run NHRA, you need to have 2 cars with 2 different combos just ready to go at all times and decide the week of which. And
that's been a strategy in the past.
I think that's the strategy we're going to see
Ricky Smith's taking that strategy. Khaled Belushi, I believe, at one point had 2 cars with different combinations.
We've heard Stevie Jackson threaten it. We've seen him obviously do it, make switches and change cars. But I mean, I've heard him threaten to run a nitrous car at certain races, run a blower car at certain races. I mean, but that would be a certainly an issue, because we talk about our sport escalating uncontrollably. And if we allowed the Fuel Tech NHRA Pro Mod Drag Racing Series to get to a point where people had 2 cars, oh my goodness. And that cannot be the case. And I tell you, there's a lot of belief around. We put a post on Facebook earlier in the week talking about kind of just the overall health and wellness of the sport of pro mod drag racing based on car count and participation. And it's certainly seen a sharp decline over the last few years, which isn't totally surprising considering
that graphic we put up
going on in the world.
Alarming.
It really was kind of alarming. And I think when you see things like that visually, it impacts you much differently. But it started to trickle off. Obviously, we got all these things going on in the world, COVID, people travel restrictions, et cetera. So it wasn't a surprise to see it drop off, but the drop off is significant. At one point in time, this is a class that routinely would have 50 cars earn points over the course of a year. We're well below half that right now, without a tremendous amount of promise on the horizon, right? There's certainly some promise, and I think it's headed in the right direction, but I don't know that it's headed in the right direction quickly enough. And a lot of people believe that that's rooted almost entirely in the parity, whether or not people believe you can field a car competitively.
Hey guys, just want to let you know Camrie did just show up. So
here we go.
Let's bring her in.
Let's go ahead and bring Camrie Caruso. Is she in her fire suit?
Yeah, she's in her fire
suit. I think she was just tested. Yeah. Here, I'll go back.
Hi.
Camrie.
Hey.
Oh no. You look fine. I love that you're in your fire suit. How are things going in Denver, Colorado, out there at the legendary Bandimere Speedway?
They're going good. This was our second run, I think. Third run down the racetrack. So it was good. It's weird up here. There's no air, but we're making progress.
One of the things that we always hear people talk about, or that I find is especially interesting, is how aggressive, specifically in pro stock, you have to get with gearing. How about pulling second gear in less than 1 second? I mean, I'm sure you're noticing the challenge that is.
It's definitely weird and different. It's way faster than it usually is. And I definitely realized that the first run. So, but now that I'm expecting it, I think it's a little better.
Are you excited? So we got a lot to cover, and we've got your connection is maybe a little sketchy. So we're going to do our best here. We'll move slowly, but I do just want to touch on, we're kind of creeping up on the halfway point, Camrie, in the NHRA Drag Racing Series season. How surreal is it to be 10 some odd races in, competing as a professional pro stock racer? I mean, are you having to stop and pinch yourself a lot?
It's honestly really interesting. I love it. It's definitely a lot different than anything I'm used to. So it's definitely really, I'm thankful for it, and hopefully it continues for a while.
Well, yeah, absolutely. From your mouth to God's ears, right? What are you most excited about with the Western Swing? Will this be your first experience kind of staying on the road?
I stayed on a road kind of stayed on the road from Phoenix Test to Pomona to Phoenix, but this will be my first time staying the whole time. So we'll see. Hopefully I have enough clean clothes.
You may have to
always the number one concern on a long trip.
Oh my gosh, it is, man. And you hear, that's one of the things that you hear all these teams talking about is somebody's got to help us with laundry. We got to find a dry cleaner. We got to find somebody to help us out. We're genuinely excited about it. I believe there's perhaps some news that we may see unveiled at the fast approaching NHRA Mile High Nationals. I don't know how much you can talk about that, but you guys have really flexed all year long a slew of major partnerships. Can you, tell me a little bit about all these different names and logos we've seen on the side of that Camaro?
So for the first two, it was Powerbuilt. Powerbuilt. And then we went from Pomona, Phoenix, Gainesville, which was Wright Trailers. Where did we go after Gainesville? Vegas, which was Pro Car and Scat and AFR. And then Houston was Sand Haulers, Bristol, Epping was Sand Haulers, and then Norwalk was Kings of Vapor, and then we have a new one for the next 5 races.
Very exciting.
I
We're looking forward to that big announcement that's coming up. Is this season so far, Camrie? You've hardly had an early exit. You're what? I think you're like 50 points out of 4th place. You're in the top 10 in
Yeah, we
NHRA
got some good
Pro
stats.
Stock.
Let's run through some stats on Camrie through the first half of the season. Average qualifying position 6th, including the number 1 in Houston. 7-8 round record, 1 final round. Has picked up a round win at 5 of the 8 races and is 7th in points, but only 2 rounds out of 5th. So pretty stout for, first half of your rookie season in the most competitive class in professional drag racing.
It's been crazy. Honestly, we've progressed as far as we have because of the guys, Jim, Mike, Sean, John. Jim and Mike have been in pro stock for over a decade. So to have their knowledge be able to help us, that's definitely why we've done as well as we have.
Is this on par with what you expected, Camrie? I mean, I know you guys are highly competitive, and I was talking a lot to your dad, early on, and he had high expectations, but are you guys where you want to be? I mean, obviously every drag racer worth their salt wants to win every race they go to, but when you factor in, as Mike said, that you're operating in one of the most competitive, if not the most competitive class in all of drag racing, I mean, are you satisfied with how this is going?
Honestly, I'm super happy with it. Obviously, we want our first win this year. Hopefully a few. We want to win the championship, but I think we're doing really good, and I'm excited for the next few races to see if we can maybe win 1 or 3.
Oh, she's throwing it out. She's going to be the without question NHRA Rookie of the Year is talking about sweeping the swing. I love that. Actually, I love that you're aggressive with your goals. I want to touch on a couple of things before we cut you loose. We have a little bit of a sketchy signal, Camrie, so we may have to try to do this again. Can you just touch on how things have gone working with Jim Yates?
Hold on 1 second.
Okay. We may lose her.
Okay, that should be better. I don't know if it is or
Uh-oh. No, certainly is not.
Downgrade.
Yeah, downgrade. I was going to ask her what it's been like working with Jim Yates. You talk about a guy who's done it, right? The McDonald's car, won world championships on his own.
okay.
But working with him. Oh,
you're better now.
Is.
There you go.
Yeah, you're way better. Oh, no. Spoke too soon. Camrie, real quick, give us your thoughts on working with Jim Yates. What has this been like? Pros, cons. Tell me about working with a championship crew chief like Jim.
He's awesome. He definitely brought a lot of knowledge to the team that we didn't have being new to the class. So we're excited, but Miss Tony is definitely the MVP. His wife.
That's what everybody, man, all of us husbands, right?
Yeah.
It's always the wife.
I think Jim would agree with you too. He's smart like that.
Jim, do you
agree?
I
think he would.
Agrees what?
That Tony's the MVP.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he agrees.
All together.
Yes.
She's the glue, right?
Yeah. She's the glue that makes us not kill each other.
Well, hey, man, it's a hyper tough environment, in all honesty, to operate, like to be out on the road with one another, doing what you guys are doing. It's no easy task just to get along, let alone be successful on the racetrack, right?
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting to trying to mesh every personality and frustrations and everything else.
Especially when there's a female involved.
Oh, yeah. Is that the
world famous Mark Caruso there?
World famous Mark Caruso.
Ron thinks that he's always right.
Well, it's tough when you are like 99 times out of 100, like your dad.
He's on our side, Camrie. Give
Oh, what a deal. Well, hey, Camrie, we have a horrible connection, so we're going to cut you loose. Go test, and we'll do this again soon, okay?
Okay, thank you guys. Have
Thanks,
a good
Camrie.
We'll
Good
talk
luck.
soon. Be careful out there. That's I tell you what, man.
You catch them at the track, man.
Right?
Hey,
You catch them at the track, and there's just no telling.
This is what I maintain, that every cell phone company, if they want to see the outer limits of their network and where they're struggling, just go to a drag strip, because that's pretty much going to be where they have the worst coverage. So go there, test it, fix it, put a cell tower. Let's do something, guys.
I'm going to put in some CB radios into everybody's trailers so they can just talk to us on those.
Oh, yeah. Just,
yeah.
Breaker.
Breaker 1-9.
It
How
could
about
just,
you,
it
DI?
could just
Come
be
on.
the heat messing with everybody's internet. You said mine was messed up earlier, so.
It was, yeah.
Man, there's no telling in this day and age, man. So let's close the show with this. Let's go around the room. Mike, will this swing be swept in 2022? It feels like there are some people perhaps poised to do it. I point perhaps most specifically to Erica Enders and Pro Stock. I do think there are some other teams that are capable. I'm kind of waiting for what's going to happen next with KB Racing. They're way too good not to be in the mix quickly. I think there's some people that could definitely do it in Top Fuel. What we've seen out of Justin Ashley, really clearly demonstrating himself as a contender. Mike Salinas, oh my goodness. We talked about maybe who it might be, but do you think that it will happen? I mean, is this going to be the year? It's been a hot minute.
Yeah, I think it will. And I think it'll happen in Pro Stock with Erica, like you said, which has only happened one other time. And we talked about this last week with Greg, whereas Top Fuel has had far and away the most Western swing sweeps, which I think is just a weird stat. And so we'll see. Maybe it could come out of Top Fuel. If it is going to be in Top Fuel, I'm thinking Mike Salinas. But after our conversation today with Steve Torrance, man, I'm waiting for that bomb to explode, and we could see him sweep the swing. Wouldn't that be crazy?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think that would be.
Oh my gosh.
I think that'd be the coolest thing ever, to have the season that he's had so far, which hasn't been a bad season. I mean, there's like innumerable Top Fuel racers that would love to be in the position that Steve Torrance is in, third in the points right now. But if he were to come out and do it, oh my gosh, I think it would.
And then the interview following.
Oh,
like how's that? Is
that enough winning for you guys?
Yeah. How's that? Yeah.
Unbelievable, man. Well, hey guys,
I don't think that.
Oh yeah, JT.
I don't think they will.
You don't think anybody will?
Nope.
No chance.
I just don't think so. No.
We said last week while you were on vacation that if Erica doesn't sweep it, it would be an upset.
Wow.
That that team is that strong right now.
They are that strong. But man, I don't know. Everything's got to be perfect, you know.
It does. And what's interesting about the Western Swing too is you got to go to Denver, and the just absolute curveball that throws everybody. That could be the thing that trips them up, you know, versus then you go to Sonoma, which could arguably be the best conditions in the whole series, you know, below sea level a lot of times. Then you go to Seattle, which kind of has its own weirdness to it as well. So it really is like three separate, very different racetracks, all back to back to back.
And you got to get through them all without anything breaking, you know, during eliminations. And, you know, that's hard enough in itself.
And I think experience, I think experience, having done it before, plays into it. So maybe we'll see one of these guys that have done it before come back, like an Antron or Tony or John Force or Greg, if they can do it just based on the experience of knowing what all you need to put in that trailer when you leave home base and head out there for 3 weeks, and the different ways you have to navigate this kind of like murderer's row of 3 different events or very different tracks in 3 weeks in a row.
I tend to agree. I would be surprised. I don't want to jinx anybody. I do think that Elite Motorsports Melling Performance Camaro of Erica Enders is the car that's capable of doing it. And I think that she's the driver that's capable of doing it. I really do. I wonder, they're racing, like we talked, kind of with that same level of saltiness that we just saw from Steve Torrance a little while ago. And I've got some inside knowledge on that deal. And I don't think that gap we saw in Norwalk, where she qualified number 1 with a 54 and the next closest car was a 57 or whatever it was, I think we're going to see more of that. From what I gather, they have been testing and trying stuff, and they're not at all resting on their laurels. They've said it. We've established that we've got an edge, and we're looking to just drive the knife further. So I'm anxious to see what these next 2 or 3 races look like. Denver will be very interesting. The elite camp, if you remember a few years ago, Richard Freeman just out of the clear blue jumped in that red Mustang, and he qualified number 1 in Denver. So they've certainly got some experience out there. And if they can get that one, obviously they got to win it to sweep it, but that will really be this linchpin moment where if they get that much more momentum, put it in the winner's circle in Norwalk, do it again in Denver, it'll be on like Donkey Kong, guys.
Is the Western Swing your favorite stretch of races on the schedule? It is for me. I've always thought that it's awesome. And it comes at a good time of year when it could be otherwise boring or having terrible, events. And there's not a lot of other sports and stuff going on around this like late July, early August time period. And to me, it's perfectly timed, perfectly placed in the schedule. And it's my favorite stretch of races.
I do too. And it's interesting because I think as a sport, there's an opportunity here, right? Because there's not a lot of competition, right? I mean, we look at Memorial Day and there's so many motorsports events happening, right? And you get down later in the year, U.S. Nationals, and you get into the fall and football's getting ready to rock and roll. And this is a unique time. And it feels like maybe we should even get more aggressive about the promotion of this Western Swing, because it's a real opportunity for our sport.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a real opportunity not to have a ton of competition, right? There's not a ton of other things going on. I mean, for God's sakes, they're putting tag and cornhole on ESPN. I mean, surely there's an opportunity. Maybe the reality show that NHRA does isn't the whole tour. It's just surviving the swing. I mean, give 2 or 3 people a GoPro. You give 2 or 3 people GoPros and put them out on the road. They're going to go to Yellowstone. They're going to go to the original Starbucks in Seattle. Like, you're going to get to see them do some. They're going to go to Red Rocks on the other side of the mountain from Bandamere Speedway and take in a concert. Yep. I mean, you could get some really great content just in 3 weeks, and probably enough to last 10 episodes, right? I mean,
and maybe, like you said, these other mainstream programs picking up something awesome that happens during these events. I was watching Colin Cowherd right before we came on the show, talking about the Baker Mayfield trade to the Carolina Panthers. And in the middle of the season or start of football season, that might not be a big deal, but he's like, we got a gift today. Because I mean, he was even like, you could see in his eyes, like, we haven't had anything good to talk about in 2 weeks. Like, this is like just dead zone for sports. So now this is going to dominate the airwaves for the next little bit. And same thing could happen for NHRA.
It really could. And there's there's an opportunity there to lean in to the grind that this is and all the unique challenges. No one's going to get to go home. No one's going back to the shop. I mean, you're overnight in parts. You're, doing work in hotels. I mean, there's a bunch of stories that are going to come from this. And anybody that's ever gone out on the Western Swing always comes back with a world of stories and tales, and I just think that it would be hilarious to.
Selena Petrucci says there's topless coffee shops in Seattle.
But be careful, there's kids watching. I'm gonna get in trouble like I did a minute ago, right?
Don't worry. They're gonna cancel you, Wes.
JT's looking at flights to Seattle right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about booking one myself now. I wasn't aware of this situation, Selena. Picture it didn't happen. That's the line, right? Yeah. Picture it didn't happen.
So Mike,
I'm going to be on Google
about that trade. What's the Panthers' win-loss going to be for this year then?
Man, yeah, I think that'll give us maybe a 1-game bump. Maybe we'll look at like 7-10 or something.
Oh wow! I thought you were going to be a little bit more cheery about that.
Nah, man. I've learned to temper my expectations over these last few years.
Man, you had a glow about you today after this trade. So I thought, man,
I had to mention it. I had to bring it up. I was going to figure out a way to talk about it here on the show.
I really like Baker Mayfield. Like, I know that maybe he's not the greatest football player or whatever, I'm the greatest quarterback, but I'm excited for him. Like, I'm a Baker fan.
It's going to be interesting.
So, yeah. I'm all for it.
Was it Allstate that had these commercials? Was that who it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the green Hulu or whatever.
Yeah, so they're probably glad they landed somewhere. They've got all these commercials and shit, right? So,
oh yeah, that ain't no joke, man.
Like, wow,
that ain't no joke. Oh my goodness. All right, guys. Well, hey, if we don't have anything else to cover, I want to thank everybody. A whole bunch of stuff, real quick. Huge shout out to Redline Oil, Stroud Safety. Unfortunately, I'm traveling. I don't have all my typical stuff with me, guys. Flowracing.com. Sand Haulers of America, Holly Performance Part, Elite HP. There's a world of people that support us here at Drag Illustrated and the Wes Buck Show. Please support those that support us. If you want to buy Made in America goods, if you want to support the good guys, the cool kids, jump on board with any of those companies that I just mentioned. Tell them we sent you. And until next time, guys, remember, subscribe to the Drag Illustrated YouTube channel. Click that like, click share on Facebook. Anytime you see something pop up, we're working on all sorts of new and exciting stuff to create more content, more killer drag racing content for you guys. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, all of y'all for watching this show. Great crowd today. A lot of great conversation. We really appreciate it. It's so fun to jump in here every Wednesday afternoon and bench race with all of our buddies. We feel very blessed to get to do this. And we do feel that we are keeping the conversation going. That's our goal here. It's easy to talk about drag racing when you're in the staging lanes on Friday. It's even easier on Saturday morning before they've called you to the lanes. Sunday night, when you're headed home, Monday morning, it gets a little harder, right? We get caught up in our regular lives and we're back to work. That's why what we do here on Wednesdays is so important. We want to keep that drag racing conversation going, keep that excitement going in between races, and we couldn't do it without each and every one of you. We will see you all next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Wes Buck Show. Guys, let's call it a day. Appreciate you both.
All right.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
See y'all. Have a good week.